Hello, once more, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Back here on YouTube, doing another video, part 2 of my 2023 Big Ten football prediction video series for the preseason predictions, as I predict which teams will finish in the Big Ten West today. After doing the Big Ten East today, we're doing the Big Ten West. Who's going to finish where in the Big Ten West? And surprisingly, I have the Wisconsin Badgers, team that finished 7-6 last year, 4-5 in the Big Ten, and overall, last year, the Big Ten West the Big Ten West, all 7 teams. Between the 7 teams, 45 losses between the 7 teams. The best team in that division was Purdue, who went 6-3, finished 8-6. The reason I have Wisconsin in first this year coming up, after last season, they had a tough schedule last year, and no doubt about it, they're going to have a tough schedule again this year as well. But I think Wisconsin's going to be a team that finishes first under new head coach Luke Fickell entering year number 1 as head coach. Last time Luke Fickell was a Big Ten coach was in 2011 when he was the interim head coach at Ohio State and took them to 7-6 in that year, 2011, because Jim Tressel got fired for an Ohio State player selling their Big Ten championship rings. But Luke Fickell, he's been around the Cincinnati. He went to the college football playoff just 2 years ago, and I think with Wisconsin, he can do much better. Joining the Big Ten as a head coach, other than being at Ohio State. Their toughest games on their schedule, definitely at Washington State, September 9th, which is a night game. Iowa comes down on October 14th. That's going to be another tough matchup, I think, for Wisconsin to win. They have Ohio State at home. That's going to be an easy one. That's going to be a tough one as well, another one of those tough ones. And then they finish at Minnesota, who they lost to last year. So right there, that's maybe 4 losses at most for Wisconsin, possibly maybe 3. I think Wisconsin can be a team that finishes 8-4, 9-3, or 10-2 in the Big Ten this year, and still wins the Big Ten West, I think, for the first time in a few years overall. But Wisconsin, I think they're going to be a good team in 2023, I think. And I just have them finishing first place because they are going to be a team that's going to know how to win at home. Iowa hasn't won at Wisconsin since 2015. Since 2015 was the last time Iowa won at Wisconsin. But you have to look at Wisconsin on paper and think you've dominated your division rivals in trophy games, except for Minnesota the last few years. But I truly think Wisconsin will be one of those teams that finishes in first place in the Big Ten West in 2023. With that being said, that's where I have Wisconsin. Moving on to our second place team. And shockingly, this is a team I think that will finish pretty high. The Iowa Hawkeyes. You know, I said that they're my favorite team in the Big Ten. I go to games there quite a bit. I'll be going to 4 games this year. So you'll see plenty of videos from games this year that I'll be attending, hopefully. Sorry about that. So last year, Iowa finished 8-5, 5-4 in the Big Ten. They had a pretty good record. The toughest games they had last year was they lost to Iowa State at home. They had issues. One thing going into this year for Iowa is the suspensions and stuff from the players betting on sports on their team to win. If you look at it, Iowa coming into 2023, their toughest games on the schedule. They don't have a lot of tough games. They don't have to play Ohio State, which they lost to by a lot last year. And they don't have to play Michigan like they did last year. Iowa's toughest games are at Iowa State on September 9th, and then at Penn State September 23rd. That's two of their tougher games. Wisconsin October 14th. That's going to be another game to circle. That's going to be a tough game. And then at Nebraska, the last game of the year. And of course, Illinois comes in November 18th. That's going to be a game to look at because Illinois hasn't won in Iowa City in a long time, since like the 90s, early 2000s, I think, or late 90s. I think Iowa still is going to finish first in the Big Ten West, second in the Big Ten West. This team looks like a team that could finish 8-4, 9-3, maybe 10-2 as well. Overall, and I think they will do that this year against the Big Ten. Wisconsin's going to be the tough team they have to beat. You have to win at Wisconsin if we're going to win the division, I think, this year. Wisconsin's going to be the team to go through. Maybe even Iowa. The top two teams in the Big Ten West, I think, are Wisconsin and Iowa this year in 2023. After that, the third place team. This one's going to be an interesting run. I am picking up the third place team. That's going to be interesting to pick. Surprising, but not surprising to some. Illinois. Why do I think they're going to be surprising? They finished 8-5 last year, 5-4. They beat Iowa last year at home in a 6-3 final score, low scoring. And if you remember, my man Rory Jr., RJ, and I predicted that game. He said that there was going to be field goals and a touchdown in the last second, which he was wrong, though, ultimately, at the end of the day. As I take a drink of water real quick, looking at Illinois' team last year, 8-5 with a 5-4 record. This year going into 2023, their toughest matches. Well, I think they might finish third. They do September 8th. They do have to travel to Kansas in the Big 12 team on September 8th, which is going to be an interesting matchup for Illinois playing at Kansas, a team that started out real well last year. That's going to be a tough game. That's a Friday night. They have Penn State September 16th. Then they have Nebraska. They have Wisconsin October 21st, which was the last few times in the last decade, Wisconsin coming to Champaign to play Illinois. Illinois has walked away with wins against Wisconsin at home in the last 10 years. Then they also have at Minnesota and at Iowa to finish it out. That are tough games. I think Minnesota and Iowa are going to be two tough teams that if Illinois is going to want to win, they're going to have to go on the road to win those games in November. And I think it's going to be kind of tough to win games in November on the road at these two places. And I think Illinois is going to be a team that finishes with 7 to 8 wins this year. I don't see them getting above 9. The last 5 teams in the Big Ten West, I think, will all be teams that finished with less than 9 wins, unfortunately. But Illinois, they're definitely the third place team to pick, I believe. Moving on to the fourth place team in the Big Ten West, I think, as it stands. The Minnesota Golden Gophers. Out of Minnesota. Last year, Minnesota finished 9-4. They finished 5-4 in the Big Ten, which was a 3-way tie for second place in the Big Ten West. And as you look, if you look at their schedule going in 2023, Minnesota has a tough schedule to look at. They have Nebraska to start out next Thursday night, which is a game on Fox next Thursday night, the 31st. Then after that, they have at North Carolina September 16th, which is, I think, can be one of those tough games. Head on the road to an ACC opponent. You have to win. After that, they have Michigan October 7th at home. Then they're at Iowa October 21st, which is going to be a tough matchup. And I think if Minnesota can't win that game, they haven't won in Iowa for a long time, since 1999 to be exact, if I'm correct. I've looked at that before. It's going to be a tough matchup. They have Illinois November 4th. That should be an easy win. At Purdue, the team that won the Big Ten West last year, and then at Ohio State, which are two tough road games in a row in November. And then at Wisconsin to finish it off, who they dominated, won the last 2 out of 3 matchups. They split the last 4 overall. Minnesota, though, I think is going to be one of those teams that should sit up pretty nicely with 8 wins this year. Maybe even 9, possibly. Tie with Illinois, maybe being third, but Minnesota, I think they're going to be in 4th place only because they're going to have tough opponents. They have Ohio State, at Purdue, and they have to go to Iowa, and they have to go to North Carolina. That's like 4 losses right there, and then they have Nebraska to start out the season. So a lot of tough games to start out. The first game against Nebraska should be a cakewalk, I think, possibly, but we'll have to wait to see with my predictions next Wednesday. By the way, I'll be predicting the Big Ten after Wednesday. I'll be in week 1, I'll be moving them to Thursdays for most of the season. So with that being said, Minnesota's going to finish 4th, I think. Coming up, our fifth place team of the Big Ten West, which I think will be Purdue, the Boilermakers. Last year, 8-6, finished 6-3 in the Big Ten. They won the division. Their schedule this year in Purdue looks pretty tough on the schedule. They have at Virginia Tech September 9th, ACC matchup, which should be kind of interesting. Another ACC matchup September 16th. Syracuse comes to town for a night game. After that, they have Wisconsin. So tough games in a row. Illinois, another tough matchup. At Iowa, that's another tough matchup. And Ohio State. Yeah. Purdue's schedule, for the most part, if you look at it, 5 of the games in a row after week 1 are going to be tough games for them to win. Before they get a break with Nebraska, and then have Michigan and Minnesota from there on out. Purdue seems like a team. They look like a team I think that's going to finish 6-6 at best. No, I don't think they get above 6, unfortunately, and that's why I have them in 5th place in this division at the Big Ten West. Moving on to our 6th place team, unfortunately, that's going to be the Nebraska Cornhuskers. Sorry, Nebraska fans. Even though I did see Nebraska beat Iowa last year on Black Friday. And last year, Nebraska finished 4-8, 3-6 in the Big Ten, as we look at the schedule. For 2023, tough matchups. New head coach in Matt Rhule, his first season, coming in after getting fired last year by the Carolina Panthers early on. Comes in his first year. He built Baylor back in the day at the Big 12. Pretty good. But Nebraska does start out this season very tough. They play at Minnesota next Thursday on the 31st. Yeah, on the 31st next Friday, next Thursday, on the 31st. Then they have at Colorado. After that, schedule gets pretty easy for 2 games. Then they have Michigan at Illinois. After that, they have Purdue's going to be a tough matchup, and they have at Wisconsin and Iowa. They don't have a lot of tough matchups, but this team looks like a team that can win 7 or 6 games possibly. For Nebraska, if you're a Nebraska fan, maybe even less. But we'll wait and see this season coming up. Sorry about that, everyone. Last but not least, the Northwestern Wildcats. 7th of the Big Ten West, I think. Coming into 2023. Northwestern last year finished 1-11, 1-8 in the Big Ten. They won their first game of the year over in Ireland last year. Then after that, they just lost all their games. They were pretty much blown away by a lot of teams. They kept them close, though. Every game, almost. Except for the Minnesota game where they lost 31-3. And lost Illinois 41-3. Northwestern, though, they have all the controversy with their coaches. Recently fired their head coach because of a bad situation, because players weren't treating players respectfully, hazing allegations, which that's kind of sucks for teams and players. Northwestern is going to be one of those teams. They're going to have a tough schedule this year. They have a pretty tough schedule. They do have Penn State. They do have Nebraska. They have the rest of the Big Ten to worry about. They do have a game at Wrigley Field November 4th against Iowa, which is going to be which is going to be an interesting matchup to see what happens. And then, yeah, from there, Northwestern, I don't know how good. I don't think they're going to be good this year. The last 3 years have been pretty bad for them, unfortunately. Sorry about that. Yeah, the last 4 years for Northwestern have been pretty bad. And unfortunately, I think it's not going to be getting any better, Northwestern fans. I'm very sorry about that. After finishing 1-11 last year and 1-8 in the Big Ten. So Northwestern, unfortunately, is not going to have a good season, unfortunately, this year. That's why I see them finishing in 7th in the Big Ten West. So there you have it, everyone. The Big Ten West predictions are in the books. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please remember to watch, like, and subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends to do the same if they've not done so already. And don't forget to also hit that notification button below so you know when I upload a new video. With that being said, I hope everyone has a nice day and stays safe. And I will see you right back here next Wednesday for the first week 1 Big Ten football predictions on Wednesday next week. So with that being said, have a nice day, stay safe, peace out, and bye for now. And I'll see you Wednesday, everyone. Bye, everyone, and stay safe.